every single thing you are afraid of right now. You built it. Not the world, not your circumstances, not bad luck. Because every time you ran from discomfort, every time you chose the easier path, every time you told yourself not today, you are quietly constructing the prison you're standing in right now. And here's what nobody tells you. The pain you avoid doesn't disappear. It grows, and eventually it becomes the life you feared most. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share will change how you see every decision you make from this moment forward. There's a concept in behavioral psychology called the path of least resistance. Your brain by design is wired to protect you from pain. It's a survival mechanism, ancient, powerful, and completely blind to the difference between a physical threat and an uncomfortable phone call. To your subconscious mind, having a difficult conversation with your boss feels the same as facing a predator in the wild. So what does it do? It avoids, it postpones. It tells you a story, a very convincing one, about why right now is not the right time, and here is where the trap is set. Meet Daniel. Daniel was 29 years old, working a job that slowly drained him. He knew he had the skills to start his own consulting business. He had the contacts, he had the knowledge. But every morning, when the thought arrived, the idea of leaving, of risking, of failing publicly, his mind created a fog. My savings aren't enough yet. The economy is unstable. Maybe next year will be better. Each excuse was logical. Each excuse was comfortable. And each excuse cost him not just money, but identity. 3 years later, Daniel was still at the same desk, watching someone half as qualified as him lead a firm he could have built. The pain of starting felt too sharp, so he avoided it. But the pain of not starting, that became his entire life. This is the first law of wealth psychology that most people never learn. Avoided pain does not dissolve, it compounds just like debt. The discomfort you refuse to face today becomes the regret that defines your tomorrow. Now let's go deeper. Because it's not just about action, it's about something far more invisible, something far more destructive. It's about the identity you build when you choose comfort over and over again. Every time you avoid a hard decision, you don't just lose an opportunity. You send a message to yourself. A quiet, brutal message that says, I am someone who cannot handle difficulty. And your subconscious hears that message, stores it, believes it. Psychologists call this self-concept erosion. It's the slow, silent process by which a person's belief in their own capability shrinks, not because they failed, but because they never tried. Let me tell you about a woman named Priya. Priya grew up watching her parents struggle financially. That early experience left a wound, a deep fear that money, when pursued aggressively, leads to pain. So she made herself small. She spent years choosing careers and relationships and lifestyles that required nothing of her. No big risks, no loud ambitions, no possibility of public failure. She called it balance. Her friends called her grounded, but inside, and she admitted this years later in a journal she kept, she felt invisible, hollow, like she was watching her own life from behind glass. The safety she had built so carefully had become a kind of suffocation. Because here's the truth about comfort zones that nobody wants to hear. They don't stay the same size. Every time you retreat into one, it shrinks. What once felt like a wide open space begins to feel like a narrow box. And the fears you avoided, they grow taller on the outside until simply looking at them feels impossible. The comfort that was supposed to protect Priya had quietly stolen the version of her that was meant to exist. This is the second law. The longer you stay comfortable, the smaller your world becomes and the bigger your fears appear. Now let's flip everything, because if avoided pain creates the life you fear, then chosen pain creates the life you want. This is not philosophy. This is the documented psychology behind almost every self-made person who ever built something remarkable. Consider the story of Howard Schultz, the man who transformed a small Seattle coffee shop into Starbucks. Before the billions, before the global empire, there was a moment, a cold, terrifying moment. Schultz grew up in poverty in Brooklyn. He watched his father, a man who never caught a break, suffer through an injury with no health insurance, no support, and no dignity. That image never left him. When Schultz had his first real opportunity to grow his vision for Starbucks, he was rejected by investor after investor. 217 times, he heard the word no. Most people would have read that pain as a signal to stop. Schultz read it as information. He didn't avoid the rejection. He walked into it. He studied it. He let it shape his pitch, sharpen his clarity, and refine his belief. He chose the pain of persistence over the comfort of surrender. And what's fascinating from a psychological standpoint is this. Every time Schultz chose to face rejection rather than flee from it, he was rewiring his own nervous system. He was teaching his mind that difficult experiences were survivable, that discomfort was not the end, it was the entrance. This is what psychologists call voluntary discomfort tolerance, the trained ability to sit inside difficulty without flinching. It is, without question, one of the most powerful psychological traits shared by people who build extraordinary lives. They don't wait until they're unafraid. They move because they're afraid. They understand something on a bone-deep level that most people never grasp. The version of you capable of the life you want can only be built inside difficulty, not around it. You cannot read your way to courage. You cannot plan your way to resilience. You can only find those things by choosing deliberately, repeatedly the pain that grows you. Here is the moment I want you to really sit with. The fear most people carry, the one that stops them from starting the business, having the honest conversation, walking away from the wrong situation, betting on themselves. It's not actually the fear of losing. It's the fear of changing. Because deep down, every major decision that requires discomfort also requires you to become someone different. And that is terrifying. Because if you become different, you can no longer make the same excuses. If you become different, the relationships that were built on your limitations may no longer fit. If you become different, you have to take full ownership of the life you build, and that is the heaviest responsibility a human being can accept. So the brain creates a simpler story. It's too risky. I'm not ready. Other people had advantages I don't. These aren't just excuses. They are psychological armor, designed to protect an identity that is afraid to evolve. But here's the brutal, liberating truth. The life you fear, the broke life, the stuck life, the invisible life, is not your destiny. It is simply the consequence of the discomfort you kept refusing. Every avoided conversation was a wall. Every delayed decision was a chain. Every retreat into comfort was a vote against the person you were meant to become. And the remarkable thing, the pain was never as bad as the story you built around it. The difficult conversation takes 10 minutes. The rejection stings for a day. The failure teaches you what years of safety never could. But the regret of the unlived life, that lasts forever. So here is where we land. Not with a list of tactics, not with a morning routine or a 5-step formula, but with a single clear truth you can carry with you from this moment forward. Your life is not shaped by the pain you endure. It is shaped by the pain you choose. Choose the pain of discipline or live the pain of regret. Choose the pain of honesty or live the pain of resentment. Choose the pain of growth or live the pain of stagnation. Every day, in small and large ways, that choice is in front of you, and you will make it whether you're conscious of it or not. The question is simply this: will you choose the pain that builds you, or will you keep avoiding the pain that is quietly becoming your life? The people who change their financial reality, their relationships, their sense of self, they don't have less fear than you. They simply stopped letting fear make their decisions. They looked at the hard thing directly, and they walked toward it. That is the only difference between the life you have and the life you want. Not intelligence, not opportunity, not luck, just the willingness to feel the thing you've been running from and move anyway. The door was never locked from the outside. It was only ever locked from within. And now you have the key.